Thanks for stopping by Minnesota Black Robe Regiment. Make sure you are subscribed and then make sure you click on the bell icon to get notifications for when the content comes out. As always, like, comment, and share. I love comments, and I love comments from people who disagree and people who agree. And I like feedback. I like to know that something I've said is impacting you or motivating you in one way, shape, or form. Even if it's to start an argument, if you will. I love that. So what am I going to tell you in this video today? I was honored to be able to go and be a part of, I don't know. I don't want to say I don't want to be a part of. I was honored by the freedom and the liberty that we have to go and observe, for the first time in the case of Lisa Hanson, owner of the Interchange Coffee and Wine Bistro in Albert Lea, Minnesota, an in-person hearing that she was having, but for both her civil cases and the criminal case that's been brought against her. And I was able to do that in Dodge County in Manorville at their courthouse as Lisa appeared before Third Judicial Court, District Court Chief Judge Jody Williamson. I want to start off, though, by saying that I had a really interesting experience prior to Lisa entering the courtroom. Lisa had a lot of followers, followers, not like, followers like a cult, but friends, people who follow her through social media, people who have been following the ordeal that she has been through. Hey, by the way, if you're interested, got some new cups. Shameless self-promotion. What I saw was a group of dedicated, patriotic people who had shown up in Mantorville at the courthouse to go in and show their support for Lisa by being present in the courtroom. Now, one of those experiences, about 3:15 on Monday afternoon, June 21st, two court security deputies, one sergeant and one deputy, came out to inform everybody, look, everybody's going to have to cover up, facial coverings, have face masks on or face shields on when they come into the courtroom. It's the rules of the court of the state of Minnesota right now are still in place, and that you'll have to be covered up. And I had told everybody, look, I disagree with face covering mandates. I absolutely disagree with those. But now is not the time to fight this. And Lisa had a supporter there that opposed me on this. He believed that he had every right in the world to go in and, if need be, make a scene. And we debated that a little bit. And I said, like, this is not the time or the place. Lisa's here for a very serious issue. The last thing you want to do is upset the court. And when I say upset the court, everybody needs to know I'm talking about the judge. And by the way, those deputies were phenomenal. They were civil, they were polite, they were professional. They were in no way, shape, or form rude or troublesome. They just were very matter of fact, stating the facts. The rules of the court say this. Now, part of the place where I have a little bit of trouble, and I'd like to get the opinion on the court of this. I know it won't happen. Judges don't sit down for interviews, but I would really like to get the opinion of the court on this, that one of the ladies was wearing a patriotic shirt and she had a patriotic facial covering on, and there will be a picture attached to this as you watch it, and it'll be at the end. She was wearing a patriotic American flag face covering, and she was ordered to turn her shirt inside out or not come into the courtroom. And she was also ordered to not wear the American flag face covering, that it was considered, my understanding, it was too much of a political message. Now, I do find that troubling, absolutely find that troubling. And as I consider the implications of that, I also have to say that while the deputies conducted the sheriff's office staff conducted themselves incredibly professionally, uh, they use lingo that I find that nobody in public service should be using today. And it harkens back to the Nuremberg defense. That Nuremberg defense was, I was following orders. I'm just doing what I'm told. Uh, that statement never bodes well for society. It doesn't bode well for individuals. It doesn't bode well for culture, and it doesn't bode well for a republic when people in appointed public servants positions are able to just say, I was just following orders. Now, sometimes orders are fine. They're lawful, and other times they're not. But when you say, I'm just doing what I'm told, I'm just following the orders, I'm just following the rules, I'm just enforcing the rules, you have to make sure that you're stepping back and that you're asking yourself, is this a hill worth dying on? Do I really want to enforce this order? And that would be a takeaway from outside of the courtroom on that. So, and like I said, I wish we could get an opinion from the court on this. There again, not in a hostile way. I would love to understand why something that is an emblem of the United States in a courtroom of the United States is deemed inappropriate. And there again, these are my opinions. But you don't have to understand. You don't have to agree with me. It's just a question that I have, and I think it's a valid question that every patriotic, individualist, volunteerist, constitutionalist American should be asking. So I'm now going to move away from being a commentator and be a little bit more of a reporter here. So I took, I don't want to say copious notes, but I did take notes. As you can see, I had my notebook with me. So this was from Monday, June 21st, 2021, at in the courtroom with Chief Judge of the 3rd District Court, Jody Williamson, appearing on behalf of the state. Now, get this. This is a civil case that Lisa has filed against several people, and now she's asking that the judge in her civil case be removed because she asserts that that judge has violated her civil and constitutional rights, as well as having violated rules of the court and judicial ethics or code of conduct, if you will. And so appearing for the state, for the Attorney General's office, is Justin Moore. There was another attorney there, Janine Kimball. She was appearing. I don't know for sure who she was representing. And then for the Department of Health, Bradley Simon was there. Judge Williamson was phenomenal in making it very clear that one of the things that she was not going to take any comment on from anyone was whether or not Lisa is able to represent herself as the owner of the MLH Enterprises, which is the flagship company, if you will, that owns the Interchange Coffee and Wine Bistro. So Judge Williamson was very, very clear. This is not what this is about. We're not going to take any of that. She's also wasn't going to argue any the merits of Lisa's civil case. She was strictly there to hear Lisa's argument and the state's argument on the case. She made it very clear that Lisa has the burden to prove that the judge in her civil case needs to be removed. And Lisa was very eloquent. She did a phenomenal job in expressing herself using courtroom lingo. And if any of you have never sat in on a court case outside of what you see on court TV, you need to just go to the mundane, dry, everyday courtrooms and just start observing cases, because the lawyers are schooled in court lingo. And of course, they're lawyers, it's the courts. But court lingo is different than what you think. It's like you can literally lose a case by not using the right court lingo. And so Lisa has had to educate herself on court lingo, and she's done a great job. So she used the right court lingo. Judge Williamson commended her. She's very good, Miss Hanson, when she was done. And it wasn't a condescending comment. She was like, "Oh, very good." Lisa used all of the right lingo. Um, she she laid out her case. I don't know, trying to be a neutral observing party here, I don't know how well that's going to work for her in the civil case. Lisa asserts that her rights were violated and that the judge denied her basically due process and violated court ethics. And the state, Justin Moore, arguing for the state on behalf of the Attorney General's office, working directly under the authority of Keith Ellison. And I've made no bones about how I personally feel about the ethics of Keith Ellison and his qualifications. Mr. Moore argued that whether or not the judge in this case should be removed isn't the issue. It's whether or not he made the right ruling. If he made the wrong ruling, then Lisa has grounds for appeal, but this isn't grounds to remove the judge. So obviously they're at loggerheads. They're not even arguing the same point. Lisa's arguing this is more than the wrong ruling. It was unlawful behavior. It was unethical behavior on the part of the judge, and the attorneys are arguing it's just a wrong ruling. At worst case scenario, it's a wrong ruling. Let her appeal it. Civil cases are tough, and they drag out forever. The interesting part of this was the fact that I think Lisa has more of a leg to stand on her in a criminal case, having the judge removed. Now, some of this stems from going back to when Lisa was charged criminally. The city of Albert Lee has brought misdemeanor criminal charges against Lisa for violating Governor Tim Walz's COOF mandates, like the in-person dining, capacity limits, the requirement of facial coverings and whatnot inside of an establishment, social distancing, things like that. And Lisa had made a decision, along with many other business owners, back in November and December of 2020, that she was no longer going to even make an attempt to abide by these because it was destroying her business, and she didn't want to lose her business. And so she was charged. The day that she was supposed to go, one of the days that she was supposed to go in for a court hearing on the civil matters stemming from the same stuff, she was delayed, or there was a delay. She missed that hearing, but she was then escorted into the courtroom and said, "Oh, by the way, you're being charged criminally. We're here to arraign you." Lisa objected. She says, I have no idea what I'm even being charged with here. And the judge, and in that situation, did made a really wise decision, and delayed the arraignment, brought Lisa back at a later time for an arraignment in that situation on those criminal charges. And then, upon hearing the criminal charges, set a bond for Lisa. And I don't remember exactly what that bond was, but they set a bond for Lisa at that time. And there were no other future dates given outside of pretrial hearings for Lisa, which were I think supposed to be coming up here at the end of June, beginning of July. And lo and behold, unbeknownst to Lisa, the city attorney of Albert Lee made the decision to request a higher bond on Lisa. Now, I don't know why. So now I'm going to shift a little bit from reporting a little bit more to commentary. Okay, this is why this looks a little bit like there's a personal vendetta here. We're not going to make any bones about it. If you've watched any of my commentary in the past, those videos are not available right now. Any of my commentary on this in the past, there's clearly these two individuals are voracious opponents. They are like, I will just tell you, do not get between two women who are fighting, okay? Because this is not gonna, it never ends well. It, guys can get down and scrap, and then it tends to be over. But this is ugly, and I can understand Lisa's frustration. Like, it's just all the stuff that's been brought against her and against other business owners now in the state of Minnesota who dared to defy Governor Tim Walz. It's been destructive for them. And you can sit here and say, well, you brought it on yourself. Well, no, you didn't. No, they didn't. They didn't bring it on themselves. That was brought onto them by tyrannical overreach by the part of the governor, which is what opened the door for what some are calling prosecution, and I will tell you is more persecution. This is criminal legal persecution of a person like Lisa Hanson. It's wrong. Lisa is a upstanding member of society, and she has been painted out to be public enemy number one in Albert Lea for daring to open up her business so that she can make a living. And I'm not going to brook any arguments from anybody about, well, they had other sources of income. No, this is her business. She has a right to operate it. She has a right to operate it. And I want to remind everybody that while Lisa was being told to shut down, Walmart in Albert Lea was open. Home Depot in Albert Lea was open for business. Hy-Vee was open for business. Other chain big box places were open for business. All of the gas stations were open for business. Everything else was open for business. You could walk in and get food at those places. You could hang out with other people. The capacity limits on places like Home Depot and Walmart and Hy-Vee were atrocious compared to what restaurants were being told, what diners and bistros were being told. In places like McDonald's and Burger King are they're franchises, but they're chain restaurants. They can absorb some of that heat. They can absorb that heat through their drive-through. People are still going to go to the drive-through. And Lisa still had some carry-out business. She never required anybody. She did curbside, delivery. But she never required anybody to come in and eat. She just said, I'm going to keep it open. Lisa's not a criminal. She's not a criminal by any stretch of the imagination. So here we have then the city of Albert Lea choosing to go and request a bond increase on Lisa as if she's somehow a flight risk. And so Lisa's argument is that this is now, whether or not the court will rule that Lisa is making a valid point, I don't know. I think this is where she has her strongest case, is in asking that Judge Butel in this situation be removed, is because Lisa says, look, I was never given an actual summons for this. I just received a Zoom invite, and a Zoom invite is not a legal procedure. It's a Zoom meeting invite. I'm not required to show up for a Zoom meeting, is her argument. I can, if I know it's for a particular hearing, if I know what the intent of that hearing is, then that's fine. But I was not given a summons or a complaint as to what I needed. I was being ordered to appear before the court on this. And that was what the warrant was issued for. That's Lisa's argument. Lisa's argument is the warrant was issued for her failing to show up as ordered in front of Judge Butel in Freeborn County. Now, Lisa and I had a conversation after this, and Lisa knows what my counsel was, is that she make a very public spectacle of turning herself in on that warrant, that she turned herself into the sheriff of Freeborn County, make it very public, make a spectacle of it, call the media and say, hey, I'm going to be turning myself in on this date, and I would love for the cameras to be there, see that I'm being compliant. Now, that was my counsel to Lisa. Just my counsel, and I'm a nobody. Like, Lisa doesn't have to listen to me. It was just, I thought it would have been a great public relations move on her part, the public relations in that regard. That media doesn't give a darn about Lisa, because guess who wasn't there for any of Lisa's hearings on Monday, the 21st in Dodge County? You know, they could show up at everything else for the different things around the state, but they can't show up for the kind of like our governor can keep talking about the COOF, but he can't do anything about crime. So Lisa was, a warrant was issued, and Lisa eventually was, the sheriff and the city attorney of Albert Lee ended up in court over a contempt complaint against the sheriff over there. Judge Butel said, ordered the sheriff to take reasonable measures to bring Lisa into custody. Lisa ended up being in Iowa, was arrested in Iowa. I believe she bonded out, was given a court date, and was booked and released. So here we sit. Lisa's argument was that entire process, that warrant was unlawful, unconstitutional. The fact that she had to pay another bond was unlawful and unconstitutional, all because she was never summoned before the court. In a summons, she on the docket, there is no summons. To this day, there is no summons, and that's her argument. And so we have to ask ourselves, what is justice in this situation? What is justice? Does Lisa deserve justice? And when I say justice, I don't mean does she deserve to go to prison, because I mean, she's looking at doing jail time for this. Like, understand this. She's looking at actually doing jail time and paying some pretty steep fines for this. Did she actually break the law? Did she actually break the law? I don't know. We know that Governor Walz has had his hands slapped by the courts already when it comes to how he's treated churches. And that's what the impetus for a lot of the changes that came about back in early part of May. Governor got his hands slapped on this stuff, and rightly so, because he was interfering with the First Amendment liberties of churches in the state of Minnesota, something he can't do. 14th Amendment guarantees that. So long story short, I believe personally that the prosecution of Lisa Hanson is on some level, there's something going on there. I think it feels an awful lot. It smacks an awful lot of don't forget that we're in charge. Don't you dare forget who you are. You are just a plebe. You are just a servant of the government, Lisa, and you will do what you are told, and you will not step out of line. If I had to guess, what do I think Lisa's odds of winning these particular arguments in both a criminal and civil case? Not very good. Not very good. I told Lisa that on the phone. I said, I don't think your odds of coming out of this victorious at this level are very good. I don't think the process is done. I think she'll end up having to appeal the decision. And do I want her to have to do that? No, I think it's ridiculous. I would love for some judge somewhere to step in and dismiss all of these charges against Lisa and say, like, this is malicious prosecution. Because that's how, there again, that's my opinion. That's how it feels to me. I believe it's malicious prosecution. And I would encourage you guys to go to the Be the Interchange website. Follow Lisa on this. If you don't like all of her methodology, that's fine. If you don't like, how she's, representing herself, that's fine. Educate yourselves. That's fine. But Lisa, as a citizen, has a right to self-represent. That's guaranteed to us, a right to self-representation. We jokingly can say the person, who represents themselves as a fool for an attorney. Lisa, that's tongue in cheek. You are not a fool. That's just however, that's the old adage. Lisa's been doing a great job. And once again, I feel, strongly, my opinion on this is that there's no need for this. There's no need for this. I could see if Lisa was like selling meth out of the, and heroin, and that she was smuggling cocaine out the back door of the Interchange. Like, okay, I would be over here going, okay, shut her down, throw her in prison. Lisa's not doing that. She's not sex trafficking. she's not. She's not a madam. She's not a pimp. She's not a drug dealer. She's not a drug lord. She's not an organized crime boss. She's not like, sitting there, like plying people with liquor and getting them all worked up to go commit crimes across the metropolis that is Albert Lee and Freeburg County. She's just a small business owner trying to save her business. And the full weight of the state is being brought against her. I want you to think about that. She walked into that courtroom and sat at that desk alone. In the civil case, the state had 3 representatives. And in the criminal case, the full weight of the state was behind her. If Lisa can stand, so can you. So my encouragement to all of you is follow Lisa, support her as best as you can, challenge her where you think she's wrong, but talk to her, get to know her. And recognize that this can be you. This could be you at the drop of a hat. This could literally happen to you at any moment. So, as always, don't worry about your safety. Fight for your liberties and your freedoms. And sic semper, tyrannis.